Why did you say bones are organs?
Bones are organs because they
Bones have cells. Multiple cells become
tissue.
multiple tissue becomes, and it says in the book that these are organs. So that's a true statement so far. When I go over here to the muscular system, same deal, right? Cells to tissues to, which, so then they both are organs. So then what else could I put in the middle then?
Cells
Organ?
and tissue.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
They are both made up of cells.
Cells.
As you can see, this class is really into body systems, both the skeletal and the muscular system. How are they alike? How are they different? Let's find out.
Hello, I'm Mr. Rollins, and I teach 5th grade at Maplewood Elementary School. This week we are going to talk about the muscular systems and the skeletal systems.
Hey, that was a great introduction. Thank you, Mr. Rollins. I'll tell you, here at Maplewood, I know you guys have been studying and doing a lot of material before I got here, learning about the muscular and the skeletal system. So today, that's what we're going to do. So on your worksheet, go ahead and let's set up a little chart here so we can talk about the muscular system and the skeletal system, okay? Now, we have been studying these systems, and one thing that I'm really impressed, I bet you guys know this, all body systems, when we studied the circulatory system, had something in common with the respiratory system, and the respiratory system has something in common with the muscular system, and the muscular system has something in common with the skeletal. And they all start with something really small. What is the smallest part of all these body systems called? The cell. Cells come together and make what? Tissues. Tissues come together and they make organs. And organs come together and work and make a body system. You know what I like to think about this? For me, this reminds me of your school. For example, your school would be the body system, your whole school. So let's think about that for a second. This whole school, the cells would be the bricks, the cinder blocks, the wood, the nails, the tiles. They all come together. So the cells would be the bricks, the nails, the tile. They all come together to make tissue. In your school, the tissues would be the floor, the walls, the ceiling. Those all come together to make classrooms. So like an organ, and the classrooms all come together to make Maplewood Elementary. So that's kind of an analogy between the two. So it's important that you know that cells turn into tissues, tissues turn into organs, organs turn into body systems. Let's take a look at the muscular system, all right? So the muscular system, there's a few things about a muscular system. I'll tell you, the first thing I want you to know is that muscles can only move in one way. Muscles might be long, and then they can do one thing. Anybody know what that word is? It's a vocabulary word this week. A muscle can get smaller, and it's called contract. So a muscle can contract. Go ahead and write that down. And contract means it shrinks, or it reduces, or gets smaller. So you have a muscle here that looks like this, long material, long tissue, okay? And then you flex your muscle, and it does this. It gets shorter, but bigger. See how that's shorter? This is contract. So go ahead and make that drawing. For example, I want everybody to put your arm out like this, and then take this hand and put it on your bicep. That's that muscle right there, right? Go ahead and close your arm, and what do you feel? Do you feel it? It got bigger, but it also got smaller. It contracted. Do it again. Ready? Hand here. That's your bicep. There's two, bicycle, bicep. Under here, put your hand under here. There are three muscles. Go ahead and make a muscle. Tricep. You feel them get smaller?
Yeah.
Bicep, tricep. So we learned that a muscle can contract. Here's the other thing I want you to know about a muscle. This is kind of important. Muscles come in sets or a pair. There's always a pair, a set of two. Sets of two or more. What I mean by that is this. You have one set of muscle that pulls your arm up and another set that pulls it down. See, a muscle can only contract. So to pull your arm up, use your biceps. To push your arm down, use your triceps. Let's take a look at your hand, for example. Okay? Put the one hand on this part of your arm, okay? And make a fist. And you feel how those muscles contract? Yeah. Now flip your hand over, put your hand on top of your wrist, and make a fist. And lift your fingers up. When you lift your fingers up, you feel, lifting your fingers up, use those muscles. Bring your fingers down, use those muscles. Now, what do we do more? We probably do this more than we do this. So which muscles are bigger? These are bigger than this. So every time if you want to move your fingers together, use those muscles. If you want to open your head, you use those muscles. I'll tell you something else about a muscle. Believe it or not, the more you use it, the bigger it gets. So if you don't believe me, girls and boys, go home. Girls, pick up something heavy and lift it 50 times tonight. Put it down. Tomorrow, lift it 50 times. At the end of the week, you'll come back to school and go, check it out. Because muscles respond. The more you work them, the bigger that you get. Now, boys, do me a favor. Don't just do one arm. I'm going to pump you up because you'll come back to school with one big arm and one little arm. But that's true. Right now, one of your arms is probably stronger than your other arm because I bet you use either your right hand or your left hand more. And so that's simply because that muscle gets worked out more. So how are we going to write that? Here's what we're going to do. Next, muscles. If you use it or lose it. Okay? Use it or lose it. Because if you don't use it, it'll get small, but if you do use it, it will get big. Got it? Go ahead, write it down. One other thing about how muscles are connected. Here's a new word you may not have heard. It's called a tendon. A tendon connects muscles. Tendons connect muscles. Okay, you got that? Tendons. And I'll tell you, you can see them on my hand. You can try this too. Take your hand like this and lift your fingers up, and these things that feel like hard spaghetti, those are tendons attached to your muscles. Or turn your hand over like this and go like this. Crunch it down and feel these things sticking up right here. Crunch it down. Those are your tendons, and those are all through your body. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you something you can do. This is Mr. Rollins' arms right here, and when he makes a fist, there's his tendons you can see. Those tendons are hooked to these muscles making a fist. Relax. Now turn your hand over. Now lift your fingers up, and those tendons are hooked to these muscles pulling his hands up, okay? All right, I want to show you an experiment. Watch this. Relax your hand. Relax. Okay, you relax? Mm-hmm. I'm going to squeeze right here, and watch what I do to Mr. Rollins' hands. By squeezing on his tendons, ready? I can make his hands curl up. You go ahead and try that with your neighbor, or try it on yourself. Just right about here, relax and squeeze, and your hands come up. Here, do it to mine, Mr. Rollins. Okay, right here? Yeah. Again? Go ahead and try that.
Ruby, try me.
Oh, it feels weird.
How do you do that?
Oh
my gosh.
They're all connected
goes
all
up
the way
so
back
fast.
here. They're all
They're
connected.
connected to this part, so when you take it, your hand automatically goes back.
We had some connections as we were doing Mr. Crosslin's experiment. Vanessa, what finger did you feel pulled the most?
The middle finger.
You felt the most. What about you?
This one?
About the middle fingers?
Okay, so let's move now to the skeletal system, because the muscular system allows you to move. But what do you need the skeletal system for? What's the main thing for the skeletal system? Yes?
To support your body.
To give you support or structure. So it gives you support or structure. Okay? Structure. Okay? Without that, you would just be a blob. It could be a blob. All right, let's take, we have 206 of these in your body. Bones, okay? 206 bones. Now, when you're born, you have a few more. And that seems kind of weird, but we have 206 bones in your body. So here is a skeleton, and the skeleton, this is a science skeleton, and it has 206 bones. Now the reason when you're born you have a few more bones, and the reason is right here, not in the jaw, which is connected, not in the skull, but in the top of the skull. You see these little suture, little marks right here? Well, when you're a baby, when you're born, those have not fully formed, so you don't have one big skull bone, you have several bones. Because when you're born, your head needs to be a little bit smaller, and it has to be able to be squeezed a bit, and then after you're born, your head rounds out, and these bones start to grow together, and by the time you're 2 years old, they've grown together, and you have 206 bones. Now the cool thing about bones, you also have where the bones come together, kneecaps, hip and pelvis, toes, those are called joints. Let's write that. So there are a lot of different types of joints in your body, and there's about 6 of them you can study. But let's go back to this bone for a second. Now check this bone out. The bone has in the middle of it a spongy area. Okay, so it's kind of spongy, and on the end of it, often it has cartilage. Cartilage is a type of tissue that makes it smooth for them to move together. But one thing I really like about bones that you need to know is inside of bones, that's where blood cells are formed. So blood cells are made inside of your bones. Your bones serve a very important purpose because blood cells live, they do their job through your respiratory system, through your circulatory system, they carry oxygen, they take away carbon dioxide, and eventually they get old and they die. So we need new blood cells, and our bones produce those inside of them. Your bones are always growing, and they grow from minerals. Your bones is a place to store minerals. And the most important one is calcium that you get from green vegetables, green leafy vegetables, and milk. You need calcium for your bones to grow. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about the skeletal system and joints and blood cells and minerals and calcium. I want to show you something that's kind of, let's take a little sidestep about skeletons, because I know when you guys did the owl pellets, right? You found some skeletons of some creatures in there, right? All right, so let me show you something. All animals that have a skeleton inside of them, it's called an internal skeleton. And down the middle, they have something called a spine or a vertebrae. A vertebrae. And to me, that's like this. This kind of looks like a spine. You follow me on this?
I follow.
Now, some of the animals might have a tail, so it might go on. But on the top of the vertebrae is this. What do you think's on the top of the vertebrae? Okay. There's a skull on the top of the vertebrae. A skull. So a skull in your vertebrae is right here. Check it out. There's your vertebrae, or your backbone, or you guys said spine, right? And this gives you support, but if you're an animal that has a vertebrae, you're called a vertebrate animal. Now there are 5 groups. Here's what I like to do. Make your fist like this. This is your vertebrae, your backbone. And so if that's your backbone, what's this big round thing then? Your skull. And how many fingers do you have?
5.
There are 5 groups of animals that have backbones. Here they are. One of my favorite is birds. There you go. Birds have backbones. Another one of my favorites is rivet. Amphibians. Amphibians have backbones. The other one is snakes, which are reptiles, have backbones. And then we have hair on our...
Mammals.
Okay. Mammals have backbones. And then my real favorite...
Fish.
Fish. Oh, we're not talking about that yet. That's good. What about a spider? All of these animals have a backbone. Now, this is kind of gross, but let me tell you this. If, Mr. Rollins, if you got up on this desk and you jumped on me and I have a backbone and you landed on me, what noise would I make? I would go, no, I would go mush, crunch. Why would I go mush, crunch? Because when he jumps on, when you step on a vertebrate animal, the tissue goes mush and inside goes crunch, your internal skeleton. So these animals, all these animals, whether you're a fish, a mammal, a bird, an amphibian, or a reptile, all have an internal skeleton. Got that? Internal skeleton. It's inside. Okay, so we talked about animals that have internal skeletons, and I have a set of bones for us to look at. For example, a raccoon skeleton, a deer jawbone, jugal. What kind of bone do you think this is? A rib bone, and a femur, and even it's got a ball on this side and a socket on that side. That's a joint.
The bottom piece of your
It's part of a vertebrae.
Part of a vertebrae. And I even brought another vertebrae right here in for you. Out in South Dakota, I dug dinosaur bones. This is the vertebrae of an Edmontosaurus. This is a vertebrae of a deer. And in the middle, how they're alike, they both have a hole that the spine goes through, the spinal column, up from the brain to the rest of the body. Hey, let's take a look at some of these.
It's been hurt. That's how it's been hurt. They're a lot lighter than I thought they'd be.
Like when the deer breathe, the rib cage kind of expands bigger and then goes in. Because they're like their lungs. Their lungs get bigger. Isn't this like one part? Isn't there like two parts of the rib? Like one part.
This kind of fits into socket right here.
I think this might be.
Show us that up close. You have a socket?
You can move, you have a socket, and so this allows you to move. This is where I can take my shoulder, and I can move it different ways because it's in this socket.
And that's a joint, right?
That's the joint, correct.
Yeah, isn't that the biggest bone in the body?
I got the skull.
This is cool. And look, Mr. Crosslin, look, here's the spongy part. Right there.
It has fresh, clean teeth.
There's a hole in it. Fred, the spongy
So you
part.
found holes in the bones. Wonder what goes through that hole.
The cells and...
Maybe a blood vessel?
Yeah,
Maybe a nerve?
These are like, that's like the spongy part.
Here, look closer. Fresh, clean teeth.
That's deep.
The animals that you've been looking at, we call those vertebrate animals. Vertebrate means they have a vertebrae, they have an internal skeleton, and there's 5 major groups. The birds, the amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and fish. And if you step on them, they go mush, crunch. Well, there's another group of animals, though, that someone mentioned earlier, and they do not have an internal skeleton. If they don't have an internal skeleton, what do you think they have?
Oh, exoskeleton.
An exoskeleton, or an external, or I like to call it an exoskeleton. Exoskeleton means it's on the outside. And someone said spiders. Spiders have 2 body parts with 8 legs, okay, and eyes. A spider, an insect, has 3 body parts, right, with 6 legs, and antennae and compound eyes, and sometimes wings, and a thorax and abdomen. An insect, right? a spider, right? What about something that looks like this? Maybe you've eaten these, maybe you've seen these. I think you probably have.
Dog.
A dog? I don't eat dog. A lobster or a shrimp? Yeah, so a crayfish,
A crawdad.
a crawdad, shrimp. All right. What else? Oh, what about something that's like that has a shell on the outside? A crab, hermit crab, a snail, Michelle the snail, Gary the snail. All of these animals are called invertebrates. Invertebrates, yeah, scorpion. And guess what? They have an exoskeleton. If you step on them, they're not going to go mush crunch. How will they go? Mush. They will go crunch, mush, crunch, mush. And I'm not saying step on them, but even an ant, they have an exoskeleton. I had a tarantula in my classroom for a long time, and we were holding it, and it dropped, and I felt really bad about it. I picked it up, and I saw when it cracked, some of the fluids were leaking out of it. But we quickly glued it back together. We actually put some super glue on it and held it in place. Now, thing about having this, if you have an internal skeleton, when you grow, it grows. If you have an external skeleton, when you grow, it doesn't. So all these animals have to shed their skin or molt. They have to molt. It's like wearing a suit of armor. When you go so big, you got to get a new suit of armor. Okay, so we've talked about if you have an internal skeleton. We've talked about an external skeleton. But there are groups of animals. They're also called invertebrates. There are groups of animals, invertebrates, that do not have any skeleton. None. For example, this animal, maybe you've seen this before.
Jellyfish.
A jellyfish, or maybe an octopus, right? With its long tentacles, right?
Squid.
A squid, yeah. A squid.
A whale.
Not a whale. A whale is a mammal.
Dolphin.
Not a dolphin. A dolphin is a mammal that has bones.
Snake.
Snake is a reptile that has bones, but these are even something like an amoeba, a slug, a jellyfish.
Plankton, yeah.
Small things, even small things like a paramecium or something with cilia. All of these, and these would all have no skeleton, so they have to get around. Most of these things live in water because they can kind of float around. And if you would step on one of those, it wouldn't go mush crunch like a vertebrate. It wouldn't go crunch mush like an invertebrate. It would go mush, mush. It'd be squish, squish, mush, mush. Yeah. So that is one way of looking at all the animals. A vertebrate with a backbone, an invertebrate with exoskeleton, or none at all. Okay, there's two activities I want you to do. One of them is kind of simple. It's cutting out the skeletons and putting them back together. And since you guys already did real mice on the owl pellets, you should be experts about seeing all these different bones and how they go together. But I want to make something here that's kind of interesting. Remember we talked about your hand and your fingers, right? Mm-hmm. They have both blood, muscles, and skeletons and nerves. And so this set of muscles here, when you squeeze it, makes your fingers go this way, and this makes your fingers come up. And so I made, just for fun, a robotic finger. Now I'm calling it a robotic finger because this is my finger, and it has tendons. These are the tendons attached to muscles, right? Mm-hmm. And it has joints. And so when a muscle contracts, remember we talked about contracting, right?
Yeah.
Watch this. When it contracts, I hope this works. I'll pull on this, pull on this tendon, the muscle contracts, and I hope that the finger will do this.
Whoa.
And when I pull this way, it does that. So this is my robotic finger. Hello. You pull on one tendon, it goes that way. I mean, then I thought, well, let's make one out of something else. And so there's joints. See the joints of your finger? Okay. And here, as we pull here, Pull here. This one's kind of weirder. Maybe a broken finger, so I can like, how's that work? I'm thinking. So this is a model of a real finger. So it has a bone, it has a tendon, it has a joint, and it has a muscle. And so here's another one. Let's see how this. If you don't get them lined up just right, this is weird. This is my Wizard of Oz finger. Hello, my pretty. I'm sorry, I have arthritis, honey. My fingers. I shouldn't make fun of that. I do have arthritis. But this one, I tried to get the joints just right, Mr. Rollins. So you pull on this muscle, tendon. Pull on this one.
What if you pull them both?
You really
Saying
can't.
it's a push-pull.
It's a-
It doesn't
yeah.
move.
So let me show you in 1 minute how to make these. So lay up 2 of these together, and let's put a couple joints in these. So there's already one joint right there where it's flexi straws, all right? There's one joint. So I'm going to mark here like this, yes, yes, and maybe mark there, yes, yes, okay. It's important that we get the joints the same place, otherwise they won't work. Then you take scissors. Ready? Scissors, scissors.
Scissors.
We got to do this like an operation. You hold that. You hold that. Ready?
It's like
Marker.
surgery.
Oh, you're supposed to slap it down, man, like surgery. Marker. Thank you, don't need it. Scissors. Ouch, don't need it. Scissors. Really? That's all you got? All right, so I'm going to cut this right here like this. A little bit of a cut. Chink, chink. And if I do that right, look, don't cut through it. Now I've made a joint. There's a joint, right? Now let's put it. Those are joints. Yeah, show them. Put your finger up here. Straight and bend, bend, bend. Very good.
Nice.
Now here, I'm gonna put the other one. Try to get it. If you don't get it straight, you're gonna have like a wicked Wizard of Oz witch joint. Say, look, they're both Okay, cool. Now there's that one. So they're gonna do the same thing, same spot. Ready? Yes, yes. Cut. Here we go. All right, so I've got these. Now we got 2 of these. Now this is. I decided we'll do it like this. So everybody's gonna get 2 straws, 2 fuzzy neon sticks, and 2 pony beads.
All right, good cut. So it's really important that you're really careful with your cut.
Okay, so yeah, the straw. So we take that. I'm just going to wrap it around. That just acts to hold it in place. So this is my tendon, right? Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
So I put my tendon down my finger. And that's in the hollow part, the marrow of my bone. And now my tendon pulls, and I get.
Oh, that's easy.
I hope so. And you can bend your wrist a little bit. And bend your wrist. Okay.
That's cool.
Okay. Now, but to get it to go straight back up, I got to take my other fuzzy neon stick and my other pony bead. You can do this with string and tie, but I thought it'd be cooler and quicker to do it like this, right?
Yeah.
I put it in like this, and now see this one works. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, yes. Put your finger up. Let's see if it works. Ready?
So I have to cut both of them though.
You do. Oh, this one I forgot to take out the cut. Look, so the joint is filled with fluid. Come on, joint. Oh. Now I've ruptured my leg. No. Here we go. Ready? Ah, nice.
So 2 cuts.
Okay, 2 joints. Now here's the thing. Now this is the hard part. We're going to put these together so they're opposite but equal, right?
Why does it have to be opposite?
So you have one finger, so one goes that way.
Yeah, yeah. All right, hold that. Don't break my finger, man. And we're going to tape them in between the joints. And you might have to redo this a couple times, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, this is your first robotic finger. I don't expect it to be perfect, you know.
But this is your like 50th, so it should be correct.
You would think so. Hey, if you go online, there's a thing called a robotic arm you could make.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's
And then attach the fingers to it.
and let's see if this will work. Look, I'm putting the tape between the joints. It wouldn't be good to put the tape over the joint.
If you put, is it? So you can't
Yes, yes.
over this joint, so because it won't move.
Here we go. Ready? Let's see if we have pull on one and it goes that way.
Tension one.
Cool.
Tension one working.
Tension one working. Flex, flex, contract, and
Tension.
kind of weird. That one works that way.
Yeah, bend it.
What, that makes you sick to your stomach? And there we go.
How do you
Oh,
make
E.T.
How do you make it straight?
Look, you pull one, contract, pinch out. I broke my joints. All right, would you guys like to make these?
Yes!
All right, well, let's go back to our seats and let's get it together.
Okay, skeleton, stay there. They took it. Did you like this?
And then just make it a little smaller. It'll just be a pinky finger. That makes sense?
Whoa, what is this?
There's a stomach where they digest. Yeah, I think this is where that's the skeleton bone.
This is one of its ribs.
This is the heart, where it has
I don't
4
have these. I'm asking
chambers.
about the fuzzies.
The stomach,
That's another rib.
the ribs, the skeleton, the backbone. Here's the hand.
Is his brain in there?
Oh, his brain. His feet.
His brain's right there.
His legs. There's his blue veins. Like,
Mine was about as bright side as
It works like really well, like a finger. It's just that, like, yeah, if you make it differently, it will work differently. Like, if you mess up a little, no matter what, it will just change. So the best advice is just to just make just in case, just get multiple straws and multiple pipe cleaner and ponies, this beads.
Yeah, you really want to be careful on cutting the straws because I had to tape mine together because it was falling out apart.
Maybe you want to get an extra straw. But it might work. What else?
And Gavin, he actually snipped his in half.
Hi.
Hi.
Bye.
Bye.
The three breasts that is the same person as your minds.
Kind of became my pinky.
You saw one person come over to me and then people start flooding over necklace. You know I'm not as efficient when people are doing it. I need to be efficient. Okay?
Mine's broken.
I'm going to ask you to do this. Okay, and this concludes our lesson on the skeletal system and the muscular systems. And right now I'm going to fight off all of these robotic fingers. Have a good day.